So for game 2 here, I mean, what is it that Cyclone can do? Not going to say if it's possible or not, but what does Cyclone need to do to be able to pull out a win here?
Put Hyperionnn on something that he can hit the abilities on.
Yeah,
that's the big thing for me. Give him something like Nemesis where he's going to make the impact, or he doesn't have to worry about hitting the big dunk or the stun into the hammer, whatever.
Kind of a big thing in Smite overall recently has been kind of eliminating the mechanical differences, I believe. I mean, I want to, talk about Sanguine from the SPL, where they went this style of, tanky jungler, tanky support, tanky warrior, hard carry in the mid with heals. And it was kind of, they were able to, compete against players, some of the best players in the world with that. You kind of minimize that mechanical skill gap. Maybe something to look for here, pick that Sobek Athena, get that Athena in jungle.
If I was their coach, I'd definitely be telling them that. That's actually a really good idea. The support, if you looked even at the last game, Matt Koiz is level 13, DineOhSaw is level 13 too. And as a support player, that can be frustrating when your jungler's behind 2 levels and you're 2 levels ahead of your jungler, keeping up with the enemy support, Cyno kind of really kept him behind and punished him. They took away the Nemesis this time from him, which was a good idea. Draft it for yourself. You thought the Nemesis seemed like it was a huge impact in that last game.
And the Athena, I mean, we didn't really get to see it, make too much of an impact. A lot of, pressure onto the right-hand side there. Do you think this Athena is something for Cyclone, in that soul lane, assuming that's where it's going to go?
Is staying away from the Sobek this time, huh?
I think so. I think they're done with the Sobek.
Yeah, I think they're done with the Sobek too. They're probably going right back to Athena, and that's probably
This is interesting. This is tanking up, and this is going for sustain. This is eliminating the mechanical skill gap with this Guan Yu lock-in.
And Nemesis is very easy too to play, right? As a jungler, you have an auto lock ult. You have a dash that's pretty easy to land too if you are trying to land it for damage. And her cone, let's
super wide.
You're gonna hit it every time.
Yeah, I love this draft coming out of Cyclone so far. Interested to see if this Athena is gonna go solo or support or jungle, potentially. Guan Yu has that flexibility. I mean, clearly DineOhSaw likes the warriors in the support role. Erlang Shen taken away by Allegiance, so he's not going to get his god that he's played every time so far here at LAN.
I mean, maybe even Nemesis in the support role. I mean, it has been played competitively before, I think by Aurora only, if I can recall.
Keep hyping me up, man.
I come over to Brochacho. I'm like, yo, what was that? And he's like, yo, but the Nemesis support worked. And I was like, no, it did not. That did not work
more damage
at
to
all.
my mid laner.
Well, I think that says a little more about someone else.
All right, let's talk about more competitive games and if the Nemesis will work. Bands coming through though.
They banned the Bacchus. That was good. That's a good ban too. Cyclone's doing a good job.
The Ratatosker as well, targeting out Cyno a little bit. Thor's still on the table though, and Cyno does have that on his god pool.
He does, but it is kind of hit or miss. That's one of those gods that we used to try and force him onto. However, he's shown that he's definitely expanded his god pool. I mean, we never worried about him getting Ao Kuang earlier, so maybe he's kind of added Thor to that repertoire of gods that you do not want to give him.
And they do have that flex, like you guys were mentioning early. The Athena Guan Yu, I think those two are such strong gods because they can flex so well, right? They can Athena can go in every role, that's what's beautiful about her. And then you have Guan Yu, that's definitely one of the top supports and solos on the box. So
don't they look cute?
There's that synergy, man.
That's guys. If you're at home wondering how you become better teammates,
Cyno said that's enough. There. After I saw that was
all right. This get a little too
easy
creepy out, right? Clow. We already talked about Clow stalking people, knowing all their information. Anyways, Naja going to be locked in for Cyno, and this is actually this is a god that we know Cyno excels at.
Very much so. This is one of the gods that he played a ton of whenever he first came over to the console scene, and continues to play a lot of. Ymir locked in here. I'm assuming this time we will. Actually, I'm going to assume it's the same thing. I think it's going to be Ymir solo Erlang support here for Koiz.
I think so too. I don't want to give any inside hints, but Koiz has definitely been practicing the Erlang Shen.
Well, that's kind of just
that's exactly what
I
that
don't want to
was.
give any inside hints, but here's the inside hint.
Yeah, there was.
Talk to me about ALG's lineup before this last pick comes in, Brochacho.
They're very scary. That's going to be a Neja ult into a Erlang pin, holding you in a Zeus ult. That's not going to be pretty.
And final pick here. It's going to be Anhur. Again, though, I do kind of like this composition that Cyclone has drafted.
I agree. I think their picks and bans were much, much better this time around. The problem is that they've, again, kind of picked themselves into this Ymir very, very well. I mean, it's only Anhur that can get over the wall yet again, kind of not respecting that same pick they saw last time.
Well, I think I already know what everyone's going to say, but who do you got?
ALG, man.
ALG, man.
ALG, man. It's over to Tom and Tolly to bring you the game.
ALG, man.
ALG, man. That's what it's all about right now.
Right now, Cyclone, they did a lot of good things. They did a lot of things right in this draft. Snatching away the nemesis was a very important deal. Getting Guan Yu, understanding that Allegiance might be a little bit more talented in these team fights. So hit him back, take a step back, and try to re-heal up. I like the idea.
Especially with Odin off the table, it makes the Guan Yu that much more enticing. CycloneGG now has that sustain option in these team fights. Now the question is, can they survive the early game to get to the team fights? Because Guan Yu is not one of these characters known to excel at that early part of the game.
Yeah, like you said, will they be able to make it out? But, you know, we heard the breakdown of what the game plan is here. Naja goes up, you come down, you get pinned, you get rained on, and you're absolutely gone. So clearly there's a step-by-step instruction for what Allegiance want to do here. I'm very curious to see if they're able to execute it.
And like we talked about, CycloneGG, he has a god pool that is not, I would say, unconventional. It's so diverse that you never can really ban him out. It's just like, what do you now want to deal with? Okay, you don't want to deal with Nemesis, the Ao Kuang, the Thor, and all that stuff. Well, now you got to deal with the Naja ult combinations and force him to try to mechanically, consistently hit these hard-to-hit skill shots.
Double freeze already coming out from Wolves. Nice little dash away out of the Agni. And that's one of the few characters that's not a big deal on. In fact, that's honestly probably where you want to go. A lot of times when you force out the movement ability from a character in these level 1 ganks, well, you're pretty happy about it because now you have agility instead of persistent gust on Jingwei, for example. But Agni's the one exception to that rule. Bloakley kind of wants to start dash anyway.
And the thing is, Wolves now invested into the freeze, which is a much longer cooldown than that Glacial Strike. An 8-second cooldown on the second ability compared to the, I think, 18 seconds on the freeze. So overall, that does hurt the clear a little bit for Allegiance. Not too much to really worry about, though, because the Naja will help that out.
Same start out of Ezzuna on this Athena. How did you like the start last time?
Honestly, it was a decent start because at this point, if you're able to get to the laning phase first, then you're able to really not have to worry about all the poke coming out of Wolves on the Ymir, especially if he wants to. And having the Wrath on the Ymir makes it very difficult to really get to that laning phase before him. Even if you are an Athena with a Wrath of your own, that Frostbite combination, even with the freeze, is good enough to really get to that laning phase.
Well, it's certainly going to be a positive on the side of Ezzuna, the fact that Wolves had to take that freeze instead of the ice carpet that we normally see. But no harm, no foul. Both players will make it to lane pretty much the exact same time. The difference is Allegiance, they're there in 2, whereas Nemesis has already split towards the mid lane.
And Allegiance now is going to be able to get the right side mid Harpies, get these Fire Giant Elementals, while CycloneGG's mid and jungle will be able to secure their own left side mid Harpies. Transonics, though, taking a little bit of poke.
You know, it's interesting to see Trans on this Soul. I think that, you know, Mage Hunters have really been the go-to this season, in this split specifically. But Transonics has always been that classic traditional hunter for me. So seeing him on the Soul, by no means is it a bad thing. But I'm just a little bit more used to seeing him on the Apollos and the Xbalanques of the world.
I mean, there's still a lot of offensive kit in Soul's arsenal that really wants to play aggressive, especially for Transonics. As long as you have that disapparate up, you have a 4-second window to get up all your damage and then be able to retreat into safety. But Ezzuna getting caught on the dash, though, definitely not going to be able to retreat under safety before getting smacked by a couple of club shots.
Yeah, he'll be generally fine. Wolves doesn't have the rest of his cooldowns available, so not going to find the kill just yet. CycloneSure staying aggressive, and this is what you have to expect. The Nemesis was able to rotate throughout the map and be successful that way. Well, Naja is a character that's going to rotate into your jungle, very quick by itself, and then of course, when you add on the speed bonus from the ring toss, CycloneSure is just going to be a nuisance all over the place.
And it's not even CycloneSure, it's also Cloud that's being so opportunistic, trying to take advantage of Bloakley a little bit out of position. Now, unfortunately, that wave was there, so it did absorb some of the chain lightning hits. Otherwise, that probably would have been first blood for Cloud.
Nice little dash through. I'm really happy to see DineOhSaw on the Guan Yu. Ezzuna slowed down again. Still going to be poked out, but not all the way down just yet. DineOhSaw has been working out fantastically on these warrior supports, and Guan Yu, I think, is just going to fit in right well with his arsenal.
Doing a really good job is ALG taking the Erlang Shen away from DineOhSaw. We saw him being able to get a couple of first bloods yesterday with that god, but not able to really transition into team fights with that advantage. So now having to play more of a team fight utility god on the Guan Yu. I'm curious to see how this is going to transition for CycloneGG moving forward.
Well, level 5s on the junglers and pretty much everybody outside of the duo lane. Here's the right side. Look at the rotation coming out from mid lane. Ezzuna's in trouble. He's going to get popped up. One more hit'll do it. Wolves can't get there. He'll just laugh.
And he's gonna
He's gonna pick up some change right there. That's what we can call it, back in the scene. Cyclone, on the other hand, on the other side, just throwing everything that they can. But Wolves, he's pushed up. He's out of mana. He's got no cooldowns. He's gonna get ulted. He's smacked down by Hyperionnn as well. Landed on by Ezzuna. There's the taunt coming out into the shield wall. A couple more basics will do it. Ymir's got nowhere to go. He's so immobile. First blood is gonna go to CycloneGG. Hyperionnn with the gank.
Unfortunately, Cloud just not in position for the counter gank, and that's a good timing though, because now they don't have to worry necessarily about the invade coming out of CycloneShare, but now gonna get caught up into the sky is DineOhSaw, and waiting for him is the Zeus.
3 shots right into the ultimate out of Zeus, and here's the ring bounce. Hyperionnn gets taken out by Clow, but Bloakley answers back, responding onto the mage.
And now, so confident DineOhSaw, but beautiful purification from CycloneShare, and right behind him is Koiz with the taunt. The knock up, the ring bounces is good as well. That's going to be overall 3 for 1, and then hold that thought. Now Bloakley getting obliterated as well. Allegiance with a quick comeback.
We mention comfort picks all the time. I feel like that term is, I won't say overused. I think it's used in the appropriate spots, but there is a difference between a comfort pick and a guy that you are just incredibly just CycloneShare looks like he knows his character inside and out. He's using the invulnerability frames from the sash. He's using the uptime and the ring bounce and the protection strip coming out from the ring toss. I'm really enjoying watching this Naja play come out of CycloneShare.
It's definitely not an easy task to be able to consistently hit those ring bounces, and yet again, Wolves though getting abused in a 1v2 spot, but the wall is good. The bomb not connecting, the ultimate gonna slow him down. Second bomb is good, however, and with 4 people here, that's gonna be a second death for Wolves, just overextending a little bit too much, trying to steal that blue buff away from Ezzuna.
Now, normally, you kind of thank your solo laner for doing that. You kind of get happy when your solo laner attracts so much attention that there's 4 people on the other side of the map. But the problem was Team Allegiance, and Cyclone knew this, make no bones about it. Team Allegiance was so spread out. You can see a couple of them backed, a couple of them stayed in lane. And because of the spread out nature of the team, they were unable to respond with the textbook answer, which is the Gold Fury.
The Gold Fury was not responded to by Allegiance, and as a result, the gold lead has not been separated more than just beyond about 800 or so past the 5-minute mark, which is still relatively impressive from Allegiance, getting any little bit of a lead that they can, because this can easily spiral out of control if Allegiance keep getting these little advantages in these team fights. As long as CycloneShare is the first man in, he can easily set up Cloud for more follow-up damage. The only thing that Allegiance has to worry about is the constant pressure that Wolves is getting.
And you know what? It's not even that big of a deal. CycloneShare is going to respond to it for the first time all game. Ultimate coming out of Ymir, and Athena ults to the other side of the map. It's going to be on top of the Gold Fury. It's going to be pulled, and Ezzuna down to 10% HP, gets healed up a little bit. Here comes the rotation. Cyclone take out the Gold Fury very quickly. Ultimates come out from nearly everybody. Cyclone know what they want, they get it, and they leave. DineOhSaw is going to be caught up, likely to fall. 3 shots out of the sky, 1 more from the ground. It's Clow taking the life.
So now Cyclone getting the Gold Fury, but immediately to respond is Allegiance getting that tier 1 mid tower after killing DineOhSaw, and that is still going to put pressure on this left-hand side. Transonics has not left the building quite yet. He still wants to get a little bit more objective gold for Allegiance.
You know, in fact, getting chased off this tier 1 tower might be advantageous to our Hunter Soul. He's got the Warlock sash. He wants to stay in the laning phase. I think if he actually takes out the tier 1 tower, that would hurt him more than it would help, totally.
Absolutely, but he's still going to apply pressure onto Styley because the ultimate has not been available. Everything was committed by CycloneGG just to secure that Gold Fury. So we could see Transonics continue applying the pressure, utilizing his own ultimate just to be able to win that little box skirmish.
And so Team Allegiance has been very active here in the early game. Last time around, it was a much different story. You had a Nemesis Zeus combination, and well, we'll see in 19 minutes and what happens, right? With the Naja, you start things off with a bang, you're able to get things going very quickly. And because of that, that's why we specifically see the Warlock Sash build out of Transonics. There's a lot of different ways to build Soul, and he's building the Warlock Sash, understanding that he's going to come into play a little bit later than normal.
Sometimes a lot of magical hunters will opt to go for the physical defense, but now Transonics, though, he's getting a lot of pressure onto him with this rotation. The ultimates are coming online. Transonics trying to hold off, but Bloakley's bomb is just too good, but Clow with the counter rotation forced into the purification. Just not enough return damage. Nobody from Allegiance to respond, but on the opposite side of the map, CycloneSure stripping away the speed.
Terrible pathing coming out from Cloud there. There's no reason that he needed to drop both the ult and the purification. I think Cloud just wanted to hurry up and get it on the tower, and went as the crow flies, and unfortunately the crow didn't really have any actives
He also,
left after that one.
just doing a little bit of damage, also deters CycloneGG from pushing the left-hand side, wanting to make sure there's no objective being taken. But now Ezzuna getting taunted, getting stunned out, but the bombs are raining by Bloakley. Gonna have to be disengaged.
Just not enough damage, however. It's Boots 1, it's Boots completed, and you've got Bancroft 2. It's just not enough damage yet out of the Agni, so great positioning, great setup, great bombs, not great damage. Because of it, Cyclone still trailing just a little bit, unable to really turn that one around into a nice little team fight. Team Alina is going to group up here, which is what Cyclone has been doing correctly. And I'm very impressed here, Toli. I think that it's one thing to... It separates a experienced team from a team that can actually improve here. When Cyclone, you sort of identify the fact that Alina is a very talented team, maybe even more so than you and your squad. So you do things like you take away the nemesis, and you do things like 4-man group up. We've seen Cyclone 4-man group up for almost all 4 of their kills. They're recognizing the fact that head-to-head, they might not win the team fight, but they know what kind of fights they can win, and that's what they're leaning on. I love to see a team identify their pluses and minuses and utilize those.
Whether or not they gank Wolves 2 times in a row, whether or not they go on the left-hand side ganking Transonics, we've been seeing the group up from CycloneGG consistently throughout this game, and as a result, avoiding the little skirmishes by Allegiance. CycloneSure always wants to be able to just get in there with his Sash ultimate, but Ezzuna also doing a good job by utilizing that global presence, which is so impactful on the dual side. Now, despite getting that gold fear earlier on, CycloneGG are still struggling a little bit. They're down about almost 1,500 gold, so they have to find ways to not let this get a little bit more out of control, because the burst damage from Allegiance between the Soul, Zeus, and Naja could get overwhelming.
Yeah, the 1,000 gold right now isn't anything to be concerned about, but it is something to at least think about. Where did that 1,000 gold lead come from, and what can we identify to stay away from repeating that process? So certainly going to pay attention a little bit to that. It's the Battle of the Guardians here.
And that's what you're going to expect to see, honestly, between this Athena and Ymir. It's almost negligible damage coming out of Wolves because of the Stone of Gaia. Just going to be instantly able to regen all of that health. And I like the idea that Wolves opted to go for. Going for that Wing Blade after dying to that Nemesis rotation 2 times earlier on. He's going to be able to counteract that with the health, not being able to really give too much protections to the Nemesis ult, and as a result, the passive amplifying his movement speed whenever he is slowed should be allowing him to retreat into the safety of his own tower.
Absolutely. I mean, Ymir's Achilles heel is the fact that he can't move. He's the most immobile character in the game, maybe outside of Anubis, right? And right now you're surrounded by slows. You've got Ezzuna with the dash, you've got obviously Nemesis with everything in the kit, so you've got to be aware of that.
But now with Ezzuna just triggering that Wing Blade with his own slow, that could allow Nemesis to look for the ultimate, but instead going out to Mad Koiz. The ultimate has been used, but it's not in time to get the pop-off heal, and now DineOhSaw on the cavalry charge, forcing the purification out of Cloud. CycloneSure finding the ring bounce, but not following any up. No follow-up at all.
That was out of this world. Matt Koiz in the complete wrong position. Cyclone do exactly what they're supposed to and punish him for it. I don't know if CycloneSure ulted there or not. I thought I heard something, but unable to really
Still
see.
has it. Still available on the cooldown.
Okay,
hasn't really been utilized, so we could see a play between him and Cloud looking for a return kill.
You know, you said something really intelligent that I really enjoyed is Ezzuna. When players are going to look, you can see the graphic on the bottom of Wolves' feet for the slow stun.
So much damage.
The winged blade. So Ezzuna, he's able to trigger it when he feels fit, knowing that Nemesis will be able to follow up in a little bit.
That's a kill.
What is he doing?
That's a kill. He poked him for
What is he
10
doing?
seconds straight. Ezzuna wanting to get the experience, just not respecting Wolves' damage. And this is the problem with Stone of Gaia. Sure, you could take all this poke from the Ymir during laning phase, but you have to retreat away from his freeze ice carpet combination just to buy you time for the regen. And now as a result, Wolves is back in the game. He was down a level, now he's up a level over Ezzuna, and now securing the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side.
That was That was not the way you play Smite. Unfortunately, that was rough watching that one. Ezzuna falls down for the second time this game. And as you said, that's one of the more impactful deaths. I think that, especially when you're playing a Guardian and in the solo lane, you can sort of get away with dying, right? You push up a little bit too far in a team fight, you die, your team gets to tier 1, everybody's still clapping and saying you have an Omega effect, right? But here, that's an impactful death. And looking for more is going to be CycloneGG, separating the rest of the team from Wolves. Comes up, misses the freeze, and Cyclone looking for the retreat. Clow's ultimate is down, freeze is down. Cyclone win that in game.
Yeah, CycloneSure's ultimate was used as well. A lot of missed abilities from Allegiance, but now Wolves trying to zone out the members of Cyclone as Allegiance continue to start the Gold Fury, but it will be reset.
Much different story this time around. Knock up onto DineOhSaw. Still looking for it. Koiz gets brought down to about 10% HP. Let's listen to Allegiance as they take on the fight.
Damn. Jesus.
Fuck.
They're gonna get. I got it. I can steal it. I'll steal it. They have all. It's half. They Agni dash. They're looking at you. They met it. They're still on it. Nice. They got all of this. Good shit. That's fine. You have TP Wolves? They're still gonna do it. No, that's all good. They're on it. They're on it. You can kill Agni. If they're gonna hog it. They hog. That's wrong. Yeah. What are we doing? You're good. I'm gonna get taunted. You're out. They reset. They said, go hit me left. They won't contest. No, okay. Get me right. Alright, that's fine, guys. Take this.
Well, Legion's usually one of the more exciting teams to listen to. Right there, kind of getting put down. Cyclone tie the game. In fact, they take a little bit of a lead. Only notable to say about the lead change, but Cyclone, they bite back, taking out the objective.
Just doing the Gold Fury without any clear-cut advantage from Allegiance, who was definitely what spelled the doom of them in that last team fight, unfortunately. They just missed too many abilities between that Zeus, Ymir, Naja ultimate. Everything was just not in the right positioning that it needs to be, and that one zone from Wolves was just not enough to really deter the rest of Cyclone from collapsing after all the botched abilities. And Allegiance now, they're in a position now where they had that 1,500 goal lead, and now it's CycloneGG bouncing back.
Yeah, so Cyclone, like I said, I'm very impressed with what they've been able to do. I think if you ask Cyclone themselves, you know, they said, I asked them, you know, are you excited for this game? I was like, good luck. And the response from the players is, yeah, we need it. We're playing ALG. Cyclone understand that they're not the favorite here. And I am almost more impressed when I see a team that are looking up to a top card and understand how to deal with some of those things. I love to see what Cyclone are doing here. Totally, what sticks out the most as Transonics has jumped on? To you, what's the biggest change here?
Well, at this point in time, the biggest change is no Styley that's about to be taken out by the rotation, but the Sanctuary keeping it alive for a little bit, but the Sash is just too strong. Now the counter rotation from Ezzuna's ultimate with the Guan Yu cavalry charge. The bombs are raining in. Clow is low.
Oh, and he just misses with the flame wave. This is really where Agni starts to make things go. You can see the Pythagorum's piece. Shouts to Aggro is picked up at number 2. Wolves over here
left alone because Ezzuna used his ultimate, now forced into the teleport just to defend this tier 2 tower. Wolves doing a good job being able to maximize his farming efficiency, but now Transonics getting stunned out into the Disapparate 4. Bloakley's dash is down, even forced into the Sanctuary.
Yeah, Bloakley dash. I like that dash. It was a hybrid dash, a little bit aggressive, a little bit defensive.
I think that was a panic Sanctuary actually out of Bloakley there. He was worried about the Stellar Burst that actually never came, the Supernova that never came or existed. So as a result now, they could look for a play onto Bloakley without that one big important relic.
Yeah, certainly got to start thinking about that Agni and see where it goes. But, you know, Cyclone able to respond here, both in game 1 and here in game number 2. Everything tied up, both gold, kills, and honestly pretty much performances here. Totally, I'm going to ask you again. Well, what do you think the biggest change here is for Cyclone when they're playing against Allegiance here in game number 2?
They're just not really worried about that last game. They're more focused about this one. They swept the first game under the rug. You know, losing in 20 minutes is not something that is well refounded for. Like, you wanted to be able to come off with a strong first game performance, but now transitioning into game number 2, they're able to take advantage of the immobile Ymir before the wing blade came online. Looking for more ganks on the dual lane side, just being a cohesive unit for CycloneGG against such a veteran team out of Allegiance is no easy task for these rookies, I would say. So I like the just mentality to be able to flick it on and off like a switch.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun watching Cyclone here, trying to fight up against Team Allegiance and doing so successfully. I like that their surge of confidence. They understand, look, you know, Team Allegiance might be better than us on paper or elsewhere, but that doesn't mean it's impossible for us to win. And Cyclone are doing everything that's necessary. They've done group ups, they've isolated players. Wolves might be the next on that list, but CycloneGG coming from the left side, finds a target, gets the purification off a nemesis. Cloud's gonna get stunned out, but drops his ultimate right on top. Wolves, on the other hand, leaving the exit wall, and he's gonna stop players in their tracks. Hyperion's got one shot left, can't find it, but Bloakley falls down.
He didn't have the Sanctuary from earlier on, and that's going to be the first victim. The rotation from Transonics on the left-hand side, trying to deter the Guan Yu, but Ezzuna getting access denied by Wolves, and that's going to be the second death for CycloneGG.
Absolutely incredible. CycloneGG winds up with another kill, 5-0-4. He's 1 kill shy of 100% kill participation, but he's certainly been all over the map and an integral part about why Team Allegiance has been able to win. Wolves was shut down early in the early game, but when it comes down to it, this Ymir is so much more than the numbers than he can provide. That team fight goes the way of Team Allegiance off of walls coming out of Ymir, which it doesn't matter what level he is. Those walls are going to impede you no matter what.
Absolutely, and I like the mentality for Wolves picking up this Mail of Renewal immediately after the Wing Blade. He's expecting to survive that initial burst coming between the Hyperionnn ult and Bloakley bombs, but as a result, it's going to be Allegiance getting the first picks, which will give him that important health and mana sustain back into these team fights just to continue the pressure. And that's the difference between Mail of Renewal for Wolves and the Stone of Gaia for Ezzuna. The more bursty it is, the better it's going to be for Wolves, whereas Ezzuna's looking for these long, drawn-out team fight engagements.
We've seen Wolves pick up this item a number of times. This Fire Giant brought down to half HP already. You can see the rotation from CycloneGG, a little bit too slow. Wolves drops the ultimate, full hit out of the Ymir. No Wrath available, but it's all good. Team Allegiance gets the Fire Giant. DineOhSaw shows up with Athena intel, but it's a little bit too late. FG goes the way of ALG. They're up by 3,000 gold.
And now they're going to have the sustain with that buff. They're going to have the siege tower extra damage coming out of that buff. And as long as they group up and they don't get picked off in the jungle side, they should be able to continue to look and lean on the pressure that CycloneGG has really been able to apply for Allegiance throughout this whole game on this Najah. Like we mentioned before, it doesn't matter if he has the nemesis or whatnot. He's going to be able to still make the plays. And CycloneGG
loves the response. Just absolutely incredible. One objective for the other. Let's see Styley or Bloakley being taken to the sky. He's going to be able to dash out no problem. There's Hyperionnn getting broken down. Clow able to claim the life. And just a little bit of a disengage coming out here. ALG not willing to dive past no Styley, I don't think. Double kill for the mid lane Clow.
And that's going to be 2 easy kills for Allegiance with that Fire Giant buff. The Gold Fear, unfortunately, was stripped away by CycloneGG, but it doesn't matter if you're going to lose these objectives on the left-hand side because the Phoenix will be immediately looked at by Allegiance after. The respawn timers are quite long at this point. Styley's coming back in about 25 seconds. This should give enough time for Allegiance to get the first Phoenix of the game.
We'll see. Hyperionnn should be here for the fight, depending on how long Allegiance take to really go for it. But Wolves walks right on in. Let's listen to ALG as they go for the Phoenix.
Just get the Phoenix, get the Phoenix, get out. Get the Phoenix, get out. Get the Phoenix, get out. You guys hear me? Yeah, get it. That's them all. Reach you. Nice, Ash. We can kill her. Nice. Get right, Phoenix, get right. Group up, come here. It's gonna be dash on. Kill her when she dashes. Trust me. I don't have pin. Kill her with dash. I'm still tanking. Nice. Look at Agni. I think I leashed it. Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a dumbass. Coming over. I might die this. I need help. I'm tanking. I'm knocking her up. Oh god. Alright, I'm reaching. Let's just kill her. You guys get right. Yeah, chase him. Pin it too. Alright, he's up. What is he doing? Get mid. Okay. Just do speed and do it. No, just get mid time. Why not? There's 4 dead.
Well, Klaus said it, but I'm not gonna say it.
Yep. So unfortunately for Allegiance, they originally called to get the Phoenix and get out, but overall, a little bit of sloppy escape. But overall, they got an unofficial deicide. It was a 5-for-2 at the end of the day. They got what they came for originally, which was that left side Phoenix, and not much to return for CycloneGG to really pull away from Allegiance. So holding on to a 5,000 gold lead, over 10,000 in experience, Fire Giant buff, still on a few members out of Allegiance if they want to continue applying the pressure, getting that last tier 2 tower of the game.
You know, when you talk about players being quiet, right? We have Transonics and Wolves that are kind of famous for being quiet here in the SCL. There's a number of players that have played in both SCL, SPL that are relatively quiet, right? But that could actually be a liability when it comes time for comms. When you're a hunter, in all honesty, I probably don't want you to talk. What are you going to do? You kill people and just say somebody left my lane. But as a solo laner, it's very important for communication to be a big deal.
So there's different levels and stages of when you want a specific role to make calls. Obviously, at the beginning of a team fight, you want your front line to make that initial call, but as the team fight progresses, you want your back line to spot out the important cooldowns that are not available for the enemy team and try to look for the exploit.
And there you see CycloneGG trying to make the play from around the right side. Cloud takes out Hyperionnn on the bottom side, and Bloakley is gone. He's nowhere outside. Transonics is going to lead the charge on that soul, now piling shots into the tower, looking for the structure itself. Ezzuna's in the jungle, taunting CycloneGG. Wolves gonna show up, drop the wall, drop the freeze, drop the carpet. Ezzuna's down low. He dashes out of the ultimate, no problem. Couple of basics out of CycloneGG. There's the sash, there's the dash, and Ezzuna goes down very fast.
And now with that left side Phoenix being down, second Phoenix being looked at by Allegiance, should be able to get this mid Phoenix no problem. Transitioning into the right-hand side, Fire Giant not available for them any longer, but it doesn't matter. They have the number advantage. They're going to be able to get this even without any sort of minions with assistance.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way this team fight goes, all right, Allegiance are going to go ahead and back off. If Cyclone decided to get a little bit more aggressively defensive, if that makes any sense, I think Allegiance might have been looking to win there. So they had just leave it alone, and they'll just go for the long play. 24 minutes on the clock, 20 kills, and it's double Cyclones 10. And Team Allegiance leading by 9,000 gold.
With so much pressure from Allegiance in the second game, getting all three Phoenixes, the Fire Giant about to respawn. Wolves definitely feeling himself a little bit, just Axis denying his whole team, man. That's so
cold.
troll, man. He's cold as ice, man.
Watch that, though. What I was talking about with Wolves is that he's a very quiet guy. I mean, he's probably said maybe 5 words outside of game here. But in that team fight, he said, necessary, I'm tanking. This guy's cooldown, right? Just very essential information. And sometimes the quiet guys can sort of be on the outside of the team. But here you can see that Wolves enjoys playing with his teammates. And for as loud as Clow might be, Wolves is just as soft-spoken, and it's all good. It's about a balance.
Exactly, like you mentioned, it's all about finding that right middle line between your team. You can have the high voices, but you need the low ones to also make sure you meet down in the middle to be calm and collected. Because you could be as hype as you really want. We've listened to how Soar was yesterday, but now it's going to be Allegiance with the Fire Giant, but pushing down. CycloneGG's tied in the second game, trying to get 6 points to be tied with the Wear in this group.
No fear for Wolves. Walks forward, gets 2 with the freeze. Here's the ultimate right on top of the Titan. Cyclone trying to play defense, but it's just that. 21 kills, it's blackjack for ALG. They take both games against their opposition.
And now they're tied at the top of this group with a Wear. They will be facing off tomorrow, so we'll see who is going to be able to really come out of that group between first or second seed, who is going to make it to Worlds.
Yeah, it's been really fantastic watching ALG. Like you said, they've got a number of good number of points, and they're certainly feeling good about their trip to Worlds. There's Transonics on the right. Everybody sort of gave him nonsense about the way he wears his hat, but it doesn't matter because the way he wears his hat and the way he plays his game is all the same. He's just making it rain.
Actions speak louder than words. It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter the fashion design as long as you get the fashion done in game. Getting credited with that second game for Allegiance, looking like such a strong team, riding off of the momentum between their SCL summer split, winning the whole finals, and even their online performance, finishing first seed out of North America.
Cyclone still have good wits about them and just good attitudes. You know, in day number 1, this was a competitive set. Day number 1, Cyclone didn't really have a competitive set. They were on the bad side of a really rough loss, and still coming off of the stage, all you really heard from the players were, you know, that was rough, but I'm glad to be here. That was rough, but that was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do a little bit better next time, and still wind up without the W, but certainly look a little bit better this time around.
You can always take something out of nothing, honestly, and CycloneGG have been improving, like you mentioned, from day 1 and day 2, so moving forward in the future, they're going to be able to really look for the experience in the next land. This is what they're setting themselves up for.
Absolutely. We're going to talk over to the analysts. It's Adonis, it's Aggro, and it's my man, Chach. Let's let him talk.
Thanks, Tom. Once again, ALG, pretty dominating performance. A lot closer, though, this time. You know, we talked about it, how
Yeah.
When you get that tankier composition, have the sustain as well, you know, you kind of kill a little bit of difference in those mechanical skills. Yet at the same time, CycloneGG then just shows up, top damage on a Naja. Not something you see too often.
Cyno just played out of his mind that game, and I mentioned it earlier on during that drafting phase, is that Naja is a character that we used to see Cyno on a lot, but hadn't seen him on recently. Clearly not a problem, though. No rust whatsoever. The blink ults were perfect, and like you were talking to me about, Eric, they were always on the right targets.
Correct. They were either on the Anhur or the Agni that game, and it was you know, very impressive to see. There were a lot of blink ults too. You would just see Agni disappear in the back line when they're trying to engage. Another thing too that we talked about in the draft, Cyclone looked 100 times better in game 2, strictly
Yes.
because they drafted a lot easier. It looked like a lot easier to execute comp, and unfortunately they fell to CycloneGG like that.
Yeah, I mean, Hyperionnn looked a lot better individually across the
Yes.
board. Everything was kind of going well, but again, I think it came back down to those individual matchups in each lane, and I think just Cyclone were outclassed in every lane. We saw Wolves get a solo kill onto Ezzuna.
Especially for me, it was in the Hunter role. I mean, Transonics was just
Yes.
on the tower constantly. We checked into the damage numbers. No Styley was up near the bottom with Anhur.
I think it was
which
the
is-
bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you just can't be there. If you're selecting an early to mid game Hunter like an Anhur, you need to be up there in the player
Wolves
damage.
walls too, right?
Oh, they
Those
were hot.
walls were hot. Some of us were saying
Yeah.
it was intense.
Young
man.
young homie had no idea. He's like, dude, I've never seen him pull off walls like that before. What is going on right now?
He's
That was
really out
impressive.
here.
Yep.
It's
Very
just
impressive.
Really out here. But I mean, Allegiance, that guarantees qualification for them to the SCL, or excuse me, to SWC. They're also going to be joined by Aware. So Group B is decided when it comes to the teams that have qualified. However, they do still have to play each other for seeding. Going to be super important.
Seeding, very important. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, a little bit of trash talk already happening between the two teams
Oh, yeah,
to make it
they're-
a little bit.
There's going to be 2 big matches tomorrow, right? You have ALG versus, like you
Aware.
guys just say, Aware, and then you have us versus Eager,
Eager.
which
Yeah.
is, I mean, those are going to be 2 really big matches tomorrow.
I mean, even closing out here, we got Eager versus Rival, and you do need Eager. You guys are only one game, right? You have 4 games
Kind
to
of
find
rooting
a
for 'em right here. I
single
think all
win.
they need to do is split, right? I could be
You
wrong.
guys,
Right.
you guys
No,
either
I need them to split, I think.
Yeah, if Eager
right
take
now.
one game, you guys
Correct.
are qualified in.
Yep.
But that's going to be coming up later. I mean, overall, though, you got to give shout-outs to Cyclone, kind of, you know, wasn't a lot of expectations coming in. Put up a good showing against Aware. Obviously, game 2 of this one, they also put up a good showing. And honestly, they seemed pretty lighthearted about it all in the end.
They were clearly having a lot of fun. They were yelling back and forth with Clow mostly for Allegiance. And for me, I mean, the standout player for Cyclone now is DineOhSaw. I mean, he was
Oh,
really,
wow.
really impressing me out of that support role.
Definitely. I think the biggest thing, too, to look at, they learned, right? It was 16 minutes into the game. They're going up against the #1 seed from NA, and they still were even 16 minutes into the game in game 2. It was very close. Unfortunately, it fell apart after that, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Definitely some stuff to look forward to for next season. But for this season, ALG are still in the running. They've qualified for SWC. And we got Tom standing by with a player to interview.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. I'm standing here with CycloneGG, the jungler. You're looking very hot today. In general, that's kind of what you do. They let you get your Naja. They let you get your nemesis. Talk to me about how confident you guys were coming into this weekend.
We were very confident. We were #1 seed. We never really have any trouble in scrims. We all grinded really hard for this lane.
Yeah, it certainly shows. You guys looked absolutely really comfortable up there. And going up against Cyclone, I mean, you guys really weren't too concerned. Talk to me about what comms are like. You seem to be having a lot of fun.
Our comms are actually mostly Clow. Wolves and Trans never talk. Matt chimes in every now and then, and I chime in every now and then.
Yeah,
It's mostly Cloud, though.
It certainly works out, you know, Clow sort of dictating where you guys go and everything. But, you know, despite the fact that Clow is the one in comms, like you say, honestly, CycloneGG, you seem to be leading the charge, especially in that second game on the Naja.
Yeah, I was feeling really good. Second game, I was hot. I was hitting all my blink ultis, and yeah, I just felt good.
Sometimes you just got to feed the hot hand. I mean, taking a look at what you've been able to do here on this Naja. Talk to me about where you came from as far as your professional experience and any other teams. How long have you been playing?
I've been playing for about 2 years. I was mostly a PC player. I played Challenger Cup. I was a ranked player. And then after I just left after the SCL qualifications, Cloud messaged me in PC and asked me if I wanted to try out, and that's it, basically.
Yeah, certainly you can see all the long-time play certainly paying off here. As you guys move into tomorrow, like you heard Rachacho say, his team has to sort of wait a little bit, but you guys are already kind of going. How do you feel about making it to Worlds, baby?
I'm ecstatic. It's always been a dream of mine to play on that stage.
It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys are just one step away. You've got some games tomorrow. Any plans for how you guys are going to treat those?
Cloud's got some secret strats like he always does, and we're confident.
Awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to give you the opportunity. You got any shout-outs or anything you want to give to the fans at home?
Yeah, shout outs to Scuff Gaming, all of our sponsors, Scuff, Money Matches. They've been a great org to us, and we're just proud to represent them.
Awesome. Well, that's CycloneGG, the jungler. We're going to take a brief break. We'll be back here with Eager versus Rival. Stay tuned.